Welcome to Whatif tutorials. In this tutorial we will be looking at an overview of the product quotes module. We'll be looking firstly at creating quotes, then at adding lines to the quote. We'll then be looking at quotes reporting, and finally we'll have a look at quote layouts. From the product quotes main menu, click quotes. Here you see the quotes headers numbered, and the values and cost and margin of each quote, the status and the result of each quote. And for each quote the lines are shown below. Before you start creating quotes, however, let me go back. You should populate your master files, market types, referral types, shipping methods, states, postcodes, salespersons, discount groups, and customers. Customers have their own defaults for most of these salespersons, market types, discount group, and state, as well as various addresses. So all of this data must be populated, although in many cases you can create this data as you go along in the quote. Going back to quotes, let's create a quote. Select a customer, first step. This then brings in all the customer defaults and the other quote defaults, so that you virtually can create the header straight away from here. And then we need to add lines. These are the lines that are available to us: item, freight, heading, a subtotal, comments, and additional space. So we'll add an item. The item comes from the costing module item master file. We'll add a configurable item, put a quantity in, okay. We come to a specification screen where, amongst other things, we can specify the dimensions, length and width. These are the dimensions. We can modify those if we wish, and so that you can create a special quote configured to customer requirements for this particular item. You can further configure its bill of materials. You can further configure its labor operations, so that what you end up with is a totally customized quote item for the particular customer. Okay, let's look briefly then at what the quote looks like. We'll go to quote 1, print that quote. Here you can choose from more layouts if you've created more layouts. Click OK. It warns you that there are attachments. I'll talk to you about that in a moment. So here's a quote: bill address, delivery address, preamble, and quote details in the body. And at the foot of the quote we have the quote footer remarks, which can be customized. You can customize. And the salesperson delivery method and the total costs. Okay, so that's the quote. You can also create attachments to a quote, so that if you have much more detail to add that needs to be put on another page, you can create a quote attachment. So we've created 2 attachments here. If we have a look at the attachment, you can see it still refers to the quote, has the same data up here, but it has text in the body of it, and you can add a picture if you wish. So this is a way of extending the data, or adding to the data on the quote that you're submitting. Okay. Alright, so let's now have a quick look at the quote reporting. You can print the quote details. You can print a quote follow-up report, which gives you the names of people to follow up. For example, no, I won't do that. You can review follow-up within a date range, and you can click through to the various quotes that need following up according to the date range you specified. You can put your contact details, comments, etc. in there. Going back to the reports, you can print a reject report which zeroes in on the reasons for reject. You can have an activity performance report which looks at the success in converting a submitted quote to an accepted quote. You can look at sales and margin summaries for selected quotes, summarizing by these parameters here. And you can rank quotes, and there's a whole range of reports that I won't go into here. Okay. Next, I'd like to just refer quickly to the quote layout. Whatif comes with two types of quotes, basically: a system-generated quote, which goes to plain paper, or a pre-printed quote, which goes to your pre-printed quote form. So in this case, in the case of the pre-printed quotes, you are adding data to a pre-printed form, essentially. The data you are looking at is broken down into header, subtotal, bottom grand total, footer, and body. So each of these sections is defined as to its position on the page. So you can determine where you place the columns on the page, and you can determine where every item fits in the header section or the footer section, and so on. So you can move the data around to fit the form. The other type of layout is a system-generated layout. You can here go to every item on the quote, every piece of material, whether it's a data item or text or label or whatever, and you can position it on the quote according to where it sits on the quote, and you can change the font for the item on the quote. Okay, so there's two types of essentially two types of quotes. There's the excluding GST and including GST. Also, there's default designs which come with Whatif, which you can use to generate your own user-defined. So these are the user-defined versions which you can change, whereas the default design versions you can't change. They stay there for you to use as a base for creating more designs. Okay, so that really covers the overview of the product quotes, and that concludes this tutorial.